Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn to overcome adversity, to pick fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode, where we jumped into an awesome topic about active listening and really seeing what's going on in the world. That episode really got me all riled up, which makes me even more excited for this week's episode, where we're going to have a guest on who really just knows so much advice that guys who take away something and move forward with it. But before we hop into this episode, guys, don't forget, check out our Patreon account, where if you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, anyone in the health and fitness industry, and you want to learn from me, I highly recommend getting over there. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Nate. Nate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Anthony, dude, I'm so excited. I can't wait to dive in with this. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
I am thrilled. We were talking a little pre-show. We're going to kind of hop into everything. Both of us have been in this industry for a while. I love people who can, A, test my knowledge, and B, bring us to a whole new level of stuff. Because as I know, and as my guests know at this point, this industry literally changes every hour, it feels like. So it's always important to really keep on current topics, current trends, see what's going on in the world. So I'm excited. But before we do that, tell everyone why they should be excited about what you know and how you got in this industry to begin with.
Well, honestly, I was on Instagram just scrolling, and I saw someone selling skinny teas, and I was like, I have to have that. And then the rest kind of is history for me, you know? I'm just kidding.
Skinny teas, nice.
Just detox teas, bro. I figured like we're too much on the same page. I got to like throw some stuff in here that we can actually get into an argument about. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I'm actually excited. Those are my favorite ones, man. The ones I don't agree with people on, because I've called people out before, and I've talked to guests, people that listen to my show, and they're like, "Those are the best." You get fired.
Well, let's see how it goes then. But I got into the industry like in 2008. I started working as a personal trainer, and I was studying business in college. And I basically shirked all of my classes, and I was just like reading so much about fitness and nutrition. I just loved it so much. And in 2008, there wasn't a lot of like demand for, new graduates. They're like, yeah, you can start at $14 an hour. And also you need to have 15 years of experience for this entry-level position. So I was like, well, I guess while I figure out what I want to do with my life, I'm going to get into being a personal trainer. I always kind of been into physical culture. I always felt like I needed to like overcome some personal adversity, like where I thought I wasn't valuable enough, wasn't strong enough, that sort of thing. So that's kind of like running away from that fear was always what propelled me towards physical fitness. But then when I started seeing people dropping weight, feeling better, getting off their medications, developing confidence and self-esteem, I was like, this is cool. This is a lot of fun. And I've just been kind of staying in it after that and trying to take up my knowledge to the next level because I love training. Training's always been my jam. I want to talk to you about Bulgarian split squats right now. I want to talk to you about why incline dumbbell bench press is far and away more beneficial for pec development than regular bench press. I want to talk about all those things. But the problem is that no one cares about that stuff because if you don't not dial in your nutrition first, you're never going to get any results. So that way you never can experience the nuances and the fun that can come from proper strength training and progressions. Where you start seeing your body change and start feeling those strength gains and start feeling like that self-esteem and confidence boost. But we can't get there until we hit the nutrition piece. And that's something that it took me, honestly, like a decade to figure out. So the last like 3 or 4 years or so, Anthony, has been spent diving into nutrition, talking with my clients about how to set up like meals and stuff in a way that makes sense for them, for their families, for their lifestyle. And that's why I wrote this book called $1 Million Body Method. It basically takes my framework, my ideologies behind nutrition, which you can apply to paleo, Mediterranean, keto, like a lot of different like styles of diet, whatever your preference is. And as long as you use this framework, it's going to help keep your body burning fat at a high level. It's going to boost your energy. It's going to make sure that and I think the long-term thing is that when people work through this framework, at the end of the day, they go, I don't feel like I'm on a diet. This is just how I eat now. And that's how I feel like that's that first step to where we can start really getting and combating the obesity epidemic.
First off, I know that I'm going to agree with you because it's not diet. I don't think the diet structure and feeling like this is the new hit thing, whatever it may be, ever works. Where it's more, I'm never going to change you 100% of what your eating habits are. If I told you, hey, Nate, today you're going to start doing 1,000 push-ups a day, even though you've never worked out before in your life, and you got to keep that going for 6 years, you're going to burn out in about a week.
Oh yeah, if that.
If that. But if I was like, hey, Nate, let's do 1 push-up a week. Let's change that one thing and just do that and keep checking off, and you start seeing success at 1 push-up a week. Then I'm like, the next week, I'm like, all right, let's make it 2 push-ups this week. You're going to see way more progress because we're slowly engaging your habits as opposed to just going straight into something. And that same concept can be put into diet. And I think that's the most important thing, is if you can control smaller aspects of what someone does, what someone's day-to-day may require, or the little habits they may have developed, it's a lot easier to progress than it is to just go from one extreme to the other.
And I feel the same way. I'm sorry. I feel a complete opposite way. No, but like all these guys I work with, these are all business owners. There's all these hard charging type A entrepreneurs. And they were like, hey, I want to get in shape. How can I lose 50 pounds in the next 2 weeks? Should I be doing training for a marathon? Should I only be eating tilapia? And I'm like, can you just take a breath right now, killer? Let me pull you back. I feel like most of my job as a personal trainer, I was like, let's go. Come on, let's like push it, get people in the gym to like really put in effort. But right now I'm like, my job is like, I rein people in all the time. They're like, I did my cardio. I'm going to go do more cardio this afternoon. I'm like, can you just take a breath? Maybe go for a walk with your kids or something? Like, you don't need to be doing all of it, because if you throw everything in the kitchen sink in, what do you have to add on? Once you drop to 1,200 calories and you're doing 2 hours of HIIT per day, you can't go anywhere from there. You're stuck. So let's start real small. I love what you said about like, set the bar so low that you can't fail and then add on, because you're going to see success physically, but you're also going to see success mentally, which is arguably more important.
I would definitely agree. The only thing I don't agree with you, back to one of the first things you said, is no one likes Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, I do. I got to have them.
Glutton. Great workout. Horrible because it burns like crazy.
Yeah. But I feel like Bulgarian split squat is like the litmus test for like being a sociopath. And I think you got to be a little bit of a sociopath to really like have this longevity in here. If you get to the point where you're like, oh yeah, the burn, I like it, then I know there's something wrong with you. And also you're my people. So
I agree in certain different aspects. For some reason, those are just too much. So yes, sociopathic tendencies when it comes to Bulgarian split squats. So back to kind of what we were talking about, where you always want to have room to grow. I just agree. In many cases, I take clients that like, I'm coming in, I'm doing 4 hours of workouts, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this isn't going to work. Let's start with like a quick half an hour, go really light, because, last thing I want is to make you sore where you can't walk for 4 days, because then you're not doing anything else. So let's start slow to warm your body up. And I'm like, but this is so easy. It's like, trust me, you'll feel it, but it's just enough where you're still going to want to come back for more tomorrow.
When I first started as a trainer, I was like, what people need? Absolute soul crushing beatdowns. And I would put people through these workouts that were awful. And then they wouldn't be able to come train with me for the rest of the week because they were so sore. They were like, I felt like I had the flu. I was in bed all the next day. And I was like, yeah, rock solid workout, right? And they're like, no, I have kids. I'm like, I don't get it. Now it took me a minute to kind of pick back up that it's not all about just absolute destruction. It's a lot more about, can you see a 1% increase on a daily basis rather than go 100% in and then do nothing for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's talk about those habit changes. I'm going to ask you, because you've worked with a lot of people going on. What's the number one thing that you see a mistake people make, and it's always your first to correct?
Ooh, are you talking about in the gym, or just like talking about just throwing softball in this? Any answer?
Softball.
All right. I feel like, not to beat a dead horse, but I feel like one mistake people make is they want to feel like they have to be perfect, right? They don't think that 80% gets them there. They think it has to be an hour-long HIIT workout. They don't think that a 30-minute walk is doing anything. They don't think that 2 days per week strength training is really doing anything. And I think I disagree with that. The other mistake that I see people make all the time is by jumping programs, jumping nutrition, looking for that shiny object, whatever, like, oh, I wasn't able to get results on this because they weren't consistent. So I'm going to go to this next thing and continue to not be consistent. And so like, and then they're like, they come to me afterwards. They're like, well, I tried keto, I tried veganism, I tried the Mediterranean diet, I tried Atkins, I did Orange Theory for a minute. I'm running a marathon right now, and I do spin class 30 times per week. And I'm like, all right, so we got to do one of those things for a really long time, and then we can kind of let all the rest of it go. So I feel like that shiny object syndrome, especially in fitness, because with supplements and stuff like that, and then all these new workout programs and new nutritional programs, people are always program hopping and jumping. They never let things sit. And I like to tell people like, hey, if you did a medium program with 100% intensity, you're going to get results. If you have the best program in the entire world that fits you and your genetics and your body types and your blood type and the fact that you're an Aquarius and you only do it once every month, you're not going to get results no matter how good the program is. Consistency over everything.
Consistency over everything. And yeah, I mean, that's just the truth. What do you think the issue is with this shiny object syndrome? What do you think this stems from, where people constantly think that they can get this right away? And it's like that delayed gratification. Is that something, I know this is going deep now, but is that something that our generation is mostly suffering with? Or do you believe that this has always gone on and an aspect of humankind?
I mean, I know I look real old, but like, I haven't really been around long enough to necessarily have a good opinion on like what they were doing in the 1900s and stuff. But I honestly believe that this is a human trait, not necessarily a millennial trait. Although I will say that Amazon Prime has not done us any favors in terms of setting the standard being like, I press the button, I want it this afternoon. Like people want that press button results. They want the fast results. I've heard before that, it took you, you walked 5 miles into the forest. You have to walk 5 miles out. You don't get to just get out in a mile, right? So you've been gaining weight steadily for 10 years. You don't get to have a 6-week path to success. Like, you dug this hole, you need to fill it back in. So I do think it's a human trait. Have you heard about the marshmallow study?
No, now I want to know.
So there's this is a really cool study that they did several years ago with a bunch of kids, and they said, hey, here's a marshmallow. You can eat it if you want to, but I'm going to leave for 5 minutes. And when I come back in, if you still have the marshmallow, I'll give you another 2 marshmallows. You'll have 3 total marshmallows. And they gave these kids the marshmallow, put it on a plate and left, and just watch what they did. And so the kids would just be like antsy and like looking at it, like sniffing it, like licking the marshmallow and stuff like that. And half of them ate it, half of them didn't, half of them got the extra marshmallows. Well, fast forward, I think 20 years or something like that, 20 or 25 years, they went back to these same kids who had basically who had the self-control as kids, who was ready for the delayed gratification, who had to have the instant gratification. And there were massive differences in the lifestyles, the financial success, the fitness levels, all those things. The people who had the delayed gratification and who could potentially just be more patient, wait it out, were doing way better in all aspects of their life.
Very interesting. And I know this has nothing to do with health and fitness, but I think it just kind of plays to the point.
No, I think it's everything to do with health and fitness.
No, I meant what I'm going to say right now.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the new iPhone is a great example. Everyone wants the new phone now. And they're going to be financially less because they're spending $1,000 on a new iPhone, as opposed to just maybe waiting a little bit for an older phone because it's not the new shiny object that's in front of them. And they'll be more financially successful than those that keep going out and buying the brand new of everything.
But I think that that even goes back to I'm sure the first person to upgrade their horse to a Model T car was everyone in the neighborhood was look at Ebenezer getting after it. I think we all have that inside us where we want the newest, the best. We want to have the status, right? Especially once you hit Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you're good with shelter, food, and water. Now it's self-actualization and status and power. So when all those things, whether it's a great body, financial success, the newest X, Y, or Z, all those relate to how we feel about ourselves, right? So I think that having wanting to hit that easy button and get after those right away, I think it's just a human trait. Yeah.
I totally agree. But I want to ask some questions as far as nutrition goes. So a client comes to you, they're just totally, Nate, help. So what do you do? What's the first thing you look at? We talked about slow changes. We talked about the consistency aspect. They're kind of at that point now. What are you looking at? What kind of questions are you asking someone as opposed to their diet or their habits, and how are you helping them move forward? I know it's a big question, but see what you can take with it.
Yeah, so I think that for the most part, when people start a new program, kind of going back against what I just said, when people start something new, like it's also hard to just be like, okay, here, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna have a salad now. Like all we're gonna do, like, and that can work. But what I found, like the kind of the happy medium with some of these hard charging type A people is they want results and they want them yesterday. So I give them something to get their results and start seeing momentum, because I do believe that creating that momentum early is really critical for success. So the first thing I give people is a reset, is like a 4-week, I call it the $1 Million Body Method phase 1. And I give them a meal plan. I give them grocery lists. I give them everything laid out. Here's exactly what you're eating. And if they apply it and they do the workouts, so the workouts are only like 20 minutes, super simple and easy. If they do those things, which are not complicated, just a little bit basic, then the next phase, what we do is we zoom out a little bit and be like, okay, you saw how what you're having for breakfast was this. Well, do you see how it fits this, this, and this, like this framework? Okay, now how do you want to have that framework be? So like you were doing eggs and avocado for breakfast. Do you see its proteins and fats? Great. Now, do you want to have shrimp and MCT oil? Okay, gross, but great. Like you're figuring it out. You're living your life. You know, for dinner, we had rice, we had like protein, and we had like steamed broccoli. Okay, you saw how that worked out. Now, do you want to have Captain Crunch and old clams and asparagus? Awesome. That's so weird, but okay. So giving people like a little bit of a structure to start, so they feel like they get the training wheels, and then we pull the training wheels afterwards and be like, okay, you feel how you're riding on your own. You feel that balance. You see how this can work out long term. Because I just don't believe that throwing someone into a meal plan or giving them something super restrictive or throwing them on keto or like putting them into a diet that's incredibly restrictive is sustainable. Yes, it gets results, but it's not going to get results long term if you can't have a bagel or a beer ever in your life ever again. So I like to give people momentum right off the bat to start feeling successful so they can keep at it. So like I ask a lot of questions about people's like ideas and why they want to be successful. But I think the more interesting part is that I give them something structured. I give them a meal plan up front, and a lot of trainers don't like that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and I want you to dive a little into about the difference. So you take your approach, which is the first 4 weeks of giving them kind of exactly what to eat, and then I'm going to give my typical approach, which is I'm breaking down there. I'm going to make up an example. Someone's having 2 Big Macs, 2 sodas, and whatever they're eating throughout the day. And I'm just going, okay, the first thing I want you to do is just take one of those 2 sodas you're drinking and make that water. And that's the only change you're going to make. So it's even smaller of a step of consistency until they can get that down. And then it's, all right, cool. We got used to having 1 less soda. Now let's change that Big Mac into a bison burger. And that's another small change. Just do that for a few weeks and see how it goes. Why do you do the differentiating between giving them some structure in the 4 weeks as opposed to that slower consistency changes?
Because people weren't getting fast enough results. And like if I wasn't providing fast enough results, they were going to stop believing in the process. And belief in the process is critical to the success, especially for the guys that I work with who like they want what they want. And they're like, I'm willing to pay whatever, I'm willing to put in whatever effort. Like you tell me what to do. And it's all well-intentioned, right? They're used to getting what they want out of their business, out of their lives. And so when it comes to fitness and I'm like, okay, just pull a soda, or let's just do a salad or something like that. And they're like, yeah. And then what else? Like, give me something else to do. So I feel like in order to cause my program is also not for everybody, if like for a lot of people who need a little bit more, who have emotional eating patterns, things like that, who are not necessarily willing to get, I send out a savage text every so often to my clients, just be like, hey, it's fine. Like the last one I sent out was like, hey, you've earned it. Why don't you have a little snack today? Why don't you get some dessert? Like you don't have to go and hit your cardio this afternoon. Like, why don't you just sit down? And like my clients will get back to me. I get like everyone to send me middle fingers and stuff like that. So like my clients are a little bit of a different breed. So this is not the approach that does work for everybody, but I think that with my philosophy, my personality, the personality of my clients and their needs, this is the approach that has made the most sense and gotten the best results, not just in the moment, but long term.
Interesting. I like how it's different. That's I guess the beauty of it, where everyone has a different personality. Everyone's going to learn a different way. We see that with every aspect of everyone kind of phase. They're all over the place. So your phase 1 is this 4-week program. Phase 2 is you're giving them an understanding of what kind of fats, what kind of proteins, and they can kind of pick and choose what kind of foods they want. What's the next step from there?
So what I think it was phase 1 is like, that's a hard reset. Phase 2 lasts as long as it lasts. And what I'm looking for in phase 2 is I'm looking for people to drop to a specific waist to height ratio, which I find to be congruent with your body burning more fat and not being insulin resistant anymore. So I want to take people from insulin resistance to insulin sensitivity. This is boring and people don't care about it. So I don't talk about like the science of blood sugar and insulin a lot, because it's most of the time people are just like zone out. They feel like it's 7th grade science again. So what I'm trying to do is I measure that by having them measure their waist at their narrowest part. And then I know their height. And then I'll watch that number creep down until we're looking for a number that's 0.46 waist to height. And once we hit that, we know pretty accurately that we are out of insulin resistance and we are into insulin sensitivity. And then we can start adding more foods back in, having more desserts, not stressing so much about sticking and being so rigorous with our foods, and using training a lot more as the primary mover of our fitness success. So generally phase 1 lasts 1 month. Phase 2 will last, anywhere between 2 months and 12 months for some people. And then once we get there, then I go, okay, hey, your waist height ratio is where we want it. You're feeling really good. You can eat carbs really any time of day. It's no problem. Your body's not going to slow down or get sluggish. Like you've kind of optimized your energy production, which is going to be critical for your success in business and success in your family and relationships, etc. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to get leaner and really focus in on getting the abs and looking a specific type of way? Do you want to train more for size, add a little bit more muscle, see how you feel, looking for 5 to 10 pounds of muscle? Or do you want to just maintain this? Do you feel really good right here and you want to spend your time and energy that you've been putting into this, doing other things, building other hobbies, creating other experiences in your life? So I give them that option. And I think based off of that, then we can change their training and nutrition just a tiny bit to start accommodating those options.
I have so many questions, and I'm really excited to ask you and get an answer from them. But before we do that, guys, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Thank you to our sponsor, Hydronique Hydration Electrolyte Powder Drink Packets. Started in the midst of the pandemic, the founder of Hydronique Hydration, a frontline healthcare worker, started developing constant headaches. A landmark research study published early during the pandemic showed that 81% of frontline healthcare workers develop new headaches, mainly because of their PPE, which prevented them from eating and drinking properly while on the job. He would leave work tired, dehydrated, and burnt out. The founder looked for a healthy drink with all the necessary vitamins and minerals, but with no sugar. But most powdered drinks in the market have a ton of sugar and caffeine. That's why he created Hydronique Hydration, sugar-free, plant-based, antioxidant-rich electrolyte powder packets for daily use, containing all essential vitamins and minerals with a refreshing taste. Their product contains elderberry, which is known to have immune-boosting properties, especially during the cold and flu season. Hydronique Hydration electrolyte powders can also fit in your bag or suitcase when traveling, and are super convenient just to carry around and have with you day to day. So if you're having trouble with eating and drinking healthy during your busy day and want a great alternative to other high sugar hydration companies, then give Hydronique Hydration a try. There are 30 of these great electrolyte powder packets in a pouch, perfect for a 1 month supply. You can visit www.hydroniquehydration.com. That's www.hydronique hydration.com. It's the word hydration and unique mashed together. Or search Hydronique Hydration on Amazon, where they are offering a $10 discount coupon at checkout. Anyway, guys, links in the bio. Please go check them out. Thank you again to our sponsor, Hydronique Hydration. I drink these packets almost every single day. They also have a ton of great vitamins and nutrients in them, including vitamin C, the elderberry mentioned, magnesium, and zinc. So even if you have a little night out with too many drinks, or you had a really good workout, because I hope that's the reason, grab one of these packets today, pick it up. Now back to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We have Nate here going all into how he does his $1 million method, and I got some questions for him, which I'm very curious to see about why he does it. So I'm going to start with my first one. Why waist to height and why not waist to hip ratio?
Good question. So that's like next level question. No one has ever asked me that before. So the reason I decided that is there's twofold. Number one, from like the perspective of like the golden ratio of like 0.707. Just having like that 0.46 to a 1 waist to height is going to create a really pleasing aesthetic. So like I think that the waist to height, that's the number we're looking for there. Number two, I feel like that gives I don't know what the waist to hip ratio is of looking at specifically the visceral fat levels. I don't think it's gonna be the same 0.46. It'd be some other number. So I've always had better luck with just that, because then I'm only asking for one measurement every single week. So I get one hip measurement. I don't do any other measurements. I have them do their weight, and then I calculate off of that. So number one, I knew about it. I had talked to a couple doctors about this beforehand, and we kind of had like worked on this formula. Number two, aesthetics, and number three, ease of access and measurements.
Interesting. That's so interesting that you do that. And I think it's just because I'm a trainer and I'm just so used to doing waist to hip ratios. And I'm trying to figure out the logic behind it. So I'm going to talk as I'm thinking about it. But I guess one of the easy aspects you didn't even mention that I'm thinking about it, most people have no idea where their hips are. So that makes the waist to hip ratio really difficult.
Plus hips are variable, right? Height is not variable. So like you can change your waist to hip ratio by, deadlifting a whole lot more and adding an inch onto your glutes. And then I think that's going to skew the numbers. But if you have a fixed number for your height, and your waist should always be within the certain parameters in order to determine how much visceral fat you're carrying around, because visceral fat, I think, is one of the key components that leads to that insulin resistance, creates more cytokines, more inflammation throughout the body. The less you have of that, the better you're going to feel, because you look good, you feel skinny, you feel like your pants and your clothes are fitting well. And number two, you're going to feel less inflammation, less brain fog. And then number three, you're going to have a better relationship with insulin. You're not going to have these big spikes and dips all over the time. So that's what I've gone with. And like you said, people don't have an idea where their hips are. They don't have any idea where their waist is either. I have a video literally being like, okay, it's here. It's not here. It's not your pant size. People are always like, my waist is 34. I'm like, is it? Or are you just saying that because that's what
we actually wear pants at our hips? So yeah, more likely to be a hip measurement than it is a waist measurement.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really interesting. I liked a couple things you mentioned, which is one, the visceral fat. And I kind of want to jump into that a little more. But waist size is so important, and people don't realize it. And I mention this a lot with my clients, and I do it during every fitness assessment, especially with men. Men are more likely to have heart attacks because they have more fat in their gut. It's just where we end up storing it. And the more fat you have in your gut, fat doesn't grow in one direction. People think fat just goes out. It goes in every direction. So you're going to end up putting more pressure on your heart and your lungs. This is why men are more likely to have cardiovascular disease than women. I think it's 4 times the rate. It's ridiculously different. But what is visceral fat? Because me and you know what it is, but I don't think our guests do. So walk us through what it is and what it does to the body.
So there's a couple levels of fat, right? Everyone pinches their belly and goes, oh, I gained whatever over COVID or Christmas, whatever else. Okay. That's called subcutaneous fat. And I like to think of it as bowls, right? So the top level bowl is your subcutaneous fat that's under the skin, is what subcutaneous means. So once if you're pouring, fat in or water or whatever into this bowl, once that subcutaneous fat bowl overflows, it flows into the next bowl, which is your visceral fat. Now, subcutaneous fat is not really dangerous, no big deal. Visceral fat is still like your body's attempt to protect you, because visceral fat starts growing internally and it starts growing around your organs. You get enough of it, you start developing the third bowl, which is called organ fat, which is extremely dangerous. and can be very detrimental to your health. It's exactly what you're talking about in terms of causing cardiovascular disease. But there's a host of other things that happen before you even get to the cardiovascular disease that just make you feel like a pile of shit. So like we do not want to get to organ fat. So visceral fat is still your body's attempt to protect you from organ fat. Visceral fat, like you mentioned though, it doesn't just grow out. You don't just get a beer gut. It starts growing around your liver, around your kidneys, around your stomach, around your heart. And the craziest thing about this is that it's not just this static thing. Visceral fat starts growing capillaries, starts growing like veins essentially. And it starts becoming more of an organ than it is just this random pile of fat. So this visceral fat starts developing, I don't want to say sentience, but it starts sending hormonal signals to your brain. Hey, we're hungry. And you're like, man, didn't we just eat? Why am I so hungry? So if you're feeling that at like that 10:30 mark after you eat breakfast, you're feeling at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're getting hungry and tired, probably have too much visceral fat. Getting hungry at 9:30, you go into the fridge, you open the fridge 16 times, then you're like, I'll settle for this old grape and a slice of bread. Like that's your visceral fat talking. And the more you have of it, the more detrimental it's going to be in terms of releasing these inflammatory compounds called cytokines, which, you don't need to know that, but, and then also sending more and more signals to your brain and creating this loop of asking for more food, specifically sugar. So visceral fat is one of like the key markers that I think that keep guys from feeling their best. It's why people are always like, well, when I was your age, I had a lot of energy, just wait till you hit 40, 45, and I've been hearing that my entire life because everyone just starts gaining weight. Everyone gains weight in their 20s and 30s, right? Because we stop moving so much. We start like sitting a lot more. And a lot of that just sticks in your trunk, in your gut, or sort of around your organs and just grows and grows and grows, which saps your energy and keeps you from living a vibrant, fit life.
Yeah, I want to break down into two quick questions off of all of that. The first one is going to be skinny fat. I know you know what that is, but I get a lot of times from people, they come in, they go, oh, look how lean I am. I'm 160 pounds at 6'2", and I don't need to work out. Who needs to work out? We all that friend we're all jealous of because they look skinny and they eat whatever they want and all the candy. I just want to point out, and I want you to elaborate a little more on this. They're actually worse off than the person who has that same amount of fat on their body as someone who's showing it. Because that means they have more levels of visceral fat, of that internal fat growing around their organs. You just don't visually see it, but they're going to have a same body fat percentage. So what percentage of your weight is fat as that person who does show the obesity, but they're way worse off. So that's why I hate BMI. We've broken it down more in the show about why BMI, height over weight, is a ridiculous form of measurement. We need to get rid of it. But walk us through that person that you're seeing, that skinny fat, and if you want to add on.
Yeah. So, to your point about BMI though, this is my kind of my way of combating BMI is the waist height. I think that's a much more indicative of general health. And also once you get to that certain number, that's 0.46, then we can tell that like, okay, you're in a really healthy range. You're doing great. We just need to stay here. So it's always like it can be a warning sign as well. Oh, that's creeping up a little bit. Maybe we should tighten the belt, figuratively. But the skinny fat, what you're saying, and the reason why that's more dangerous sometimes than even someone who's showing more fat is because the person who's showing more has more muscle, and muscle and fat are directly like they kind of are antagonistic to each other. Muscle's like Superman, and fat is like, I don't even know who the bad guy is. And I was trying to create a metaphor. It's falling really flat right now. Who's the guy from the new movie? It doesn't matter. Anyways, they fight each other. Muscle is going to be consistently using carbohydrates and glycogen in order to create energy, create more muscle. Okay. So each pound of muscle you carry can hold about 11 grams of glycogen or 11 grams of carbs, roughly. So if you're holding more muscle, you're going to be able to eat more food, use it appropriately, and then not develop any of these benchmarks of obesity, like the visceral fat. So someone who's got a little bit more, someone who's got, 30% fat at 200 pounds is going to have a much easier time dropping weight and keeping it off than someone who's 30% body fat at 160 pounds. That person has low cardiovascular endurance. I can guarantee that. They've got low strength, and to build strength and build muscle is a much longer, more difficult process than dropping fat. And like, I don't care what people say or what supplement you read that someone built 30 pounds of muscle in 6 weeks. That doesn't happen. So having the ability to like have a little bit more muscle to kind of like lean back on, it's an insurance policy. So that person's always going to be able to have faster results, feel better. And then once that 200-pound person hits 170 pounds, they're going to look way better than that person who at 160.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I want to backtrack to my second question off of the response before, which is you pretty much answered 80% of it just right now. So you brought up the visceral fat. Your body is requiring more energy, and you don't want that dirty grape in the refrigerator, which was hysterical.
We've been there. We've all been there.
All thinking about it. And the point is, and I like I said, I want to just elaborate off of what I'm going to break down here, is the more fat you have in your body, fat burns calories at rest, just like muscle does. So your metabolic rate is higher even if you have more fat on your body, which is why it's easier for you to lose weight. And you're craving all of these extra foods because you're trying to keep up with your metabolism. It's not that your metabolism's slow. Your metabolism is relatively fast because you have all this fat on your body. It's just you're consuming that much more calories throughout a day. So that's why you keep gaining weight. It's going to be a lot easier for a 350, 400-pound person to lose a pound a week than somebody who's like $160 because their metabolic rate is so much higher. And then I want you to envision if you're carrying around all that extra weight, you're working out like strength training in a gym. If someone at that weight has to stand up and then walk to the end of the house and then walk back and sit down, you basically just squatted like 200 pounds, and your body has to constantly build that muscle to keep up with your weight, which another reason you have more muscle in your body, you're at a higher metabolic rate than everyone else. It's not that metabolism's horrible. It's just that you're eating so much more and you're not eating the right foods and you're not maintaining the right amount of muscle because you're not getting enough protein in your body. And there's so much more I could dive into, but work off of that.
I want to talk about metabolism, like kind of what you're talking about there. So a lot of people think that, oh, my metabolism is slow. My metabolism is broken. And by the way, to all the trainers out there who are telling their clients their metabolism are broken, fuck you guys. That's so like we're completely missing the forest for the trees because metabolism doesn't change a whole lot. Most people who are in a specific age demographic with a specific weight are going to have the similar metabolism. It's going to vary by 1% to 2%. It's not a whole lot. But exactly to your point, what you were saying about the movement piece is where we fall down. Your metabolism is not broken. You just haven't been for a walk in 2 years. You need to get outside. You need to move around a little bit more and do what's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. Trainers love talking about NEAT. Yeah. So especially if you're pushing like, 3 bills, 4 bills, and you can get out and move around a little bit more, you're going to lose weight way faster than that skinny fat 160 pounder because they don't need to burn a lot of calories to be moving that much. So you don't need a metabolism reset diet. You don't need to do reverse dieting. You just need to eat a little bit less and move a little bit more in a way that doesn't necessarily like put you in like on a treadmill or in the gym. Park farther away, walk around the block with your kids twice a day. Walk. I have something called the 5-day sugar reset. And I on day 2, I love talking about detoxing because like everyone wants to talk about it, but I think that like detoxes and cleanses are largely stupid. So I call it physical detoxing because people are like, ooh, physical detoxing. I'm like, take a walk after you eat. Magic. Shit's magic. It works. So like by walking 5 to 10 minutes after you eat, you're actually going to teach your body to utilize those calories a little bit better, to put them into your muscle for energy rather than into your fat for storage. The what is it? Ayurveda, like the Indian kind of holistic.
You're losing me on that one, man.
Yeah. Well, like in kind of like a meditation in Indian philosophy, they have a word that's called 100 steps after you eat, basically, which means after you finish eating, go walk 100 steps. And that was their belief like hundreds and hundreds of years ago without any scientific proof or, being able to measure metabolites or, take a pee test to see how much you're burning. So like this is not like new practice. This is not something that you need to like have an advanced degree for. People have been doing it for thousands of years. So just after you finish eating, go quick, get some movement in, and you're going to see that metabolism start to like actually do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh God, I got so much to add to this, and my blood's starting to boil as people are thinking about all these answers I've heard in my lifetime about why they're special and my metabolism. You don't understand how my body works.
You don't get it, yeah.
Yeah, you know
Genetics,
nothing,
man. And I mean, like, okay, like 1 out of 100 people, 1 out of 1,000 people, they have some genetic issues. There's hormonal things going on. I don't mean to detract from that person, but it's probably not you. I'm not a special snowflake. Most of my clients are not special snowflakes. I very rarely seen. I've only been stumped by one person in my entire life, and I found out after the fact, like a year or two later, that she was a insomnia eater.
Wow.
We struggled for so long. She would drop weight, and then I would be on vacation or whatever. I'd come back, she'd gain 20 pounds in a week or two. We're like, what is going on with Judy? And it came out later that she would find like wrappers in her closet. She would go eat while she like at 3 a.m.
That's crazy. That blows my mind. We need to have a podcast episode about insomnia and sleepwalking.
I didn't do it. Like I feel like I kind of failed on that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand the people who have Hashimoto's, who have Graves' syndrome, who have thyroid issues, but that's not everybody, guys. The chances of having that are super, super slim. So having that understanding that it's not you, you're just like everybody else. And it drives me nuts when you take someone with these crash diets or these detoxes, when you're 300, 400 pounds, your metabolism is probably burning anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 calories a day at rest, because you do have so much extra weight on you, that you're doing these diets that you're eating at 800 to 1,000 calories. So now your body's saying, oh my God, there's no food around, help. So now it's quickly burning the muscle, because muscle burns more calories at rest. So your body's trying to get rid of it because it's like, oh my God, there's no food around, we're going to starve to death. So you're just doing yourself a complete disservice, not eating right, instead of just changing your life and eating the right foods and understanding that, these small little habit changes like we talked about earlier are what's really going to make you successful and help you in the long term. And I love the more you think about it, now that we're like half an hour in, that 4-week program you're giving with the breakdown of how exactly to eat, I'm seeing that as we're talking, it's a little more necessary, because I'm envisioning somebody like this, and they're just going online searching how to lose 30 pounds in a week. And it's saying, try this new detox cleanse while you have his green tea and you'll promise to lose 20 pounds.
Well, as long as you take it as a suppository, it's going to work. Everyone knows that. So, but yeah, to your point, man, like people are looking for this stuff, right? I'm not talking about detoxes and being like, hey, you need a detox. People are like, what's that? People are literally Googling, how do I detox? What do I do for a juice cleanse? So we need to meet them where they're at, rather than like, I think there's a lot of trainers who are like, that's stupid. You need to be doing more walks and strength training and drinking water. But like, if we're trying to consistently disparage these people who are just trying to get healthy, they don't know, right? We're fighting against like the Men's Health and the Cosmos and all these things that are like, you need a detox. If you don't detox, your liver will never work for you again. Like you think about all the MLM companies out there that are way more popular, more prevalent than either you or I, and they're all saying the same things. You need a detox. So what do? We go, no, don't do a detox. Detoxes are stupid. Our clients go, sounds like I need a detox, right? We need to get in front of that. Right? We need to do detoxes and teach people the right way, how you can use water and your liver to do a great detox. So I'm trying to get in front of where the people are. I'm trying to sell that sizzle, and then I'll deliver the steak. They're going to get good results. They're going to get high quality information. You bet. But I'm not going to stand on the sidelines and be like, you're doing it stupid. That's stupid to do that, because that doesn't serve anyone, especially the people that we're trying to help.
All right. I have 2 questions. I'm got a good one for you right here. So you're talking about getting
good so far.
All right, this is a juicy one. You wanted me to disagree with you on something. Here you go, which is a half disagree, half agree with you, half disagree with you. But it's getting in front of what mainstream media is pushing, what Men's Health is pushing, and I'm trying to get in front of those people and showing what's work. So you're talking about doing a detox, where you're just changing what a detox is, and you're saying what you're teaching them is a detox, even though it's really not what they're doing at some juice cleanse with some Joe Schmo. is that a disservice in an aspect where I'm a client of yours and I'm coming to you saying, hey, Nate, this great detox that we're doing, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting results. I'm getting that steak. I'm moving forward. I'm changing my life because your program does actually work. But I'm now going to my friends, going to Jane down the road and saying, hey, Jane, I'm doing this detox. So now Jane's hopping on, looking up green tea detoxes and doing something that's just going to make her life even worse because as a client, I don't know the freaking difference. So I'm just going saying everyone, I'm doing detox. They work great. So that's adding to the popularity of what doesn't work that mainstream media is teaching us.
Maybe.
So,
but like when I'm talking about detoxes, I go, hey, listen, you know that liver, that really cool organ, that thing literally will detox your body. Hey, you know when you're not eating, you know what happens? Your body goes into a process called autophagy, which is your body's natural cleansing mechanism. So you don't need to buy any pills, powders, or potions to make this work. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So if they're just going off and spouting like detoxes are great, then that sounds like a them problem, not a me problem.
Fair enough. But I'm always thinking of different avenues about how people are perceiving and listening. Because what you said was a good point about how it's so hard for us to compete against the $1 million companies. Us to come in and say, hey, what we're teaching is right. And they're looking at us going, are you a $1 billion company? I don't think you are. Right. Look at this Men's Health magazine. This guy got 6-pack abs in 2 weeks. This actor got ripped. Look at him.
Yeah.
He looks great for that movie.
Zero pharmaceuticals were involved in Mark Wahlberg's deadlifting 500 pounds. Natural.
Absolutely natural.
Yeah. And also that guy trains 6 hours a day, like regardless of what he was taking. He doesn't have a job. His job is to get ripped. Your job is to be a dad, have 4 kids, run a business, and not sleep a lot. So you're not the same.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just kind of perceiving like throw away People's Magazine, guys. It's just not doing you any favors. And start looking at the truth, which is, you don't live their life. They have private chefs. They have the top trainers in the world. They're working at 6 hours a day, like you said. Everything's counted down to a T for them because they're paying big bucks for this. They're taking pharmaceuticals. They're going to help them get ready. That's not your life. Your life is what you said. And so the best thing to do is to take what you have given to you and doing these little extra steps, which is something you mentioned, just going for a little extra of a walk. We sit down more and more the older we get. So why not change that and do a couple extra minutes of walking every week or just something to get your body moving? And that's when you're really going to start feeling better, helping your mental health. When you improve your mental health, and your physical health will follow because you're mentally ready to improve your physical health. And it's just this cycle that you have to slowly start to change. And it all starts with your train of thought about how you perceive current situations and putting yourself in a positive reinforcement loop as opposed to a negative reinforcement loop.
100% agree. Yeah, you gotta change the descriptions.
Change the descriptions. I absolutely agree. But I want to start wrapping this thing up, Nate. So first question to you, like I ask everyone at the end of the show, is if you were to summarize everything that we talked about into 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your take-home message?
Walk more, don't quit.
Walk more, don't quit. I love that. And then the last question, how can people find you, get a hold of you? I mean, I love your methodology. It definitely seems like it works. And I love talking to you, hearing your passion behind it. So let everyone know where they can find you and get a hold of you if they have any future questions about anything.
So if you want to, I'm on Instagram. You can find me at $1 Million Body Method. If you want to try the 5-day sugar detox and see what kind of witchcraft I'm preaching and voodoo, you can go to thefreesugardetox.com, thefreesugardetox.com. And you can it's a 5-day course. It's got a handbook with it. You can just grab that and take a look through it. Teach you how to use your body's natural mechanisms to detox. And I don't have any supplements to sell you. So try it out. And if you want to grab the book, it's on Amazon, or, they can go to n8trainingsystems.com/book to get a free copy for any of your listeners, Anthony.
I love it, guys, and definitely go check them out. We'll have the link over in the show notes. And thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you could do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference.